Yiheng Wang is undeniably the greatest 3x3 solver of all time, as a couple weeks ago he got the first ever sub 4 average, and if that wasn't convincing enough, he did it again. And he is so much further ahead of everyone else, people keep wondering, why is he so good? And why can't anybody catch up to him? And this is because of one reason and one reason only: his turning. In the modern era of speed cubing, cubes are so good nowadays that you could turn at a blazing fast 15 turns per second. This was unimaginable even 5 years ago, maybe even 3 years ago. And what a lot of people are doing is they are focusing on efficiency over turning. But the fact of it is, efficiency will never save you. You can have a perfectly efficient solution, but one lockup during PLL can kill your solve. That is why in the modern era of cubing, turning is the most important thing for world-class solving. And today we're going to take a deep dive into Yiheng's turning, figuring out what makes it this good and how you can become this good too. We will find out the art of perfect turning. Alright guys, I'm really excited to talk about this topic of the art of perfect turning. This is a topic that I've been researching for a couple weeks, I would say even a couple months, and it's actually helped me out a lot, and I'm really excited to help you guys improve a lot too. For context, I have a 631 official average, so I would say I'm decently qualified to make this video, and the results I have achieved by taking a deep dive into Yiheng solves has really helped me a lot, but we will talk a little bit about that at the end. Also, to preface, this is my second time recording this. I just finished recording it, and I was like, whoa, this is gonna be a banger video, and the audio was corrupt. So sad. But hopefully this is an even better version than the last one, and I'm really excited to talk about it again. So when talking about perfect turning, there are 4 things that we need to talk about, and the first one is actually solving style. So while analyzing Yiheng's solving style, there were 2 things that stood out to me. He always is trying to set up to free pairs during F2L, and he's always trying not to rotate. The reason why he's trying to set up to free pairs is because he wants really basic F2L solutions. Basic F2L solutions are good for a variety of reasons. 1 can be for turn speed, and 2 can be for look ahead. When you have good look ahead, it's actually very good for your turning, because when you have good look ahead, that means you're turning constantly. When you're turning constantly, that means you're going to have a high TPS. Let me give you this for example. Let's say you have a solver with 10 TPS but has bad look ahead. He'll be turning at 10 TPS for 1 to 2 second increments, and then we'll have to pause. But if you have a solver that has 8 TPS but doesn't have any pauses because he has good look ahead, he's going to end up having a way faster solve because he's not pausing at all. So to have basic F2L is not even just good for TPS, but it's very good for look ahead. And I'm pretty sure look ahead and TPS go hand in hand during F2L. And what I mean by basic F2L solutions, I mean nothing fancy, just RU and L solutions. I notice a lot with Tymon Kolaśinski solves, he does like D moves and occasionally B moves, and that's good, it's really efficient, but it's really hard to turn fast and to look ahead on it. And by saying basic solutions, I don't mean be inefficient. Inefficient and basic are 2 different things, because Yiheng is definitely not inefficient. He's actually very, very efficient, because he's always setting up to free pairs and stuff. Like comparing Yiheng's and Tymon's move counts, Yiheng is slightly less efficient, but he's able to have a way higher TPS because of his basic solutions. So yes, Yiheng is bleeding like a move or 2 every single solve during his F2L, but he's able to turn way faster, so it doesn't even matter anyways. And then another thing that I mentioned earlier is he tries to have the least amount of rotations possible during F2L. The reason why is because you're able to have a lot higher TPS if you're doing 0 rotations, so if you're just facing like, you know, the same color the whole time, then if you have to do 1 or 2 or even 3. Every time you rotate, that actually gives you a chance to have a lower TPS because you're pausing your turning for like a split second. Diet Dr. Pepper, so good. Alright, let's get back into it. So keeping track of things like edge orientation during your F2L will make it a lot easier to have a higher turn speed. And also you'll end up doing more basic solutions, because when you're tracking edge orientation, you're only doing RU and L moves. You're not doing F moves at all. And now going on to last layer, one thing I noticed is if you want to have perfect turning, you actually have to use OLL and PLL. Not saying you can't have perfect turning with ZB, but like you just will have way better turn speed when you're using CFOP. The reason why is because CFOP algorithms are just a lot more finger trick friendly, like OLL and PLL, and ZBLL algorithms and ZBLS, they're just not as finger trick friendly. Yes, there are some cases where they are good, but there are a lot of cases where they're bad finger tricks. And CFOP, since there's so little cases, there's only like 78 algorithms compared to 800 algorithms, you're able to optimize your finger tricks and algorithms for each case a lot more. And because of that, you're just able to have a higher turn speed using CFOP. But that's not even the only thing. As I mentioned earlier, if you have good look ahead, you will have a higher turn speed. And that's very true with OLL PLL. I mentioned this in one of my previous videos is when I compared CFOP versus ZB. One thing I mentioned is look ahead is so much better for OLL PLL because the algorithms are more basic and you're able to just look ahead a lot more nice. And since there's a lot less cases, like there's only 78 algorithms, you're running into your cases so much more often, which makes it easier for you to develop the look ahead skills to look ahead from like OLL to PLL or from last lot to last layer. And I forgot to mention this earlier, but I actually got some solves from Phil from the Cubicle. Shout out to them. Use discount code Caden if you're shopping there. I got some solves from Yiheng when he was visiting them, and it was like 5 sub 4s, and it's like absolutely insane when taking a look at them. And we're going to do a deeper dive into those solves later on in the video. But one thing I noticed in those solves is Yiheng isn't pausing like at all. His OLL to PLL transition is perfect. His last lot to last layer transition is perfect. And that's because OLL and PLL is good for look ahead. But another thing he actually does is he chooses algorithms that make the transition from last lot to OLL and from OLL to PLL a lot nicer. The best example I could find is this A-perm. Yiheng uses the A-perm where you rotate upwards to do it, where most people rotate downwards from it. And in my research for this video, I started to notice when you have to transition from OLL to PLL and you have an A-perm, it's a lot nicer to just rotate upwards for some reason, where a lot of people rotate downwards. And because of that research, I actually started training myself to do the A-perms where you rotate upwards, and it's helped me out a lot more. And in these solves that I'm about to show you, Yiheng got like 2 or 3 A-perms, and he always used the A-perms where he rotated upwards, and his transitions were beautiful. Another algorithm that I can just think of right now is Yiheng's V-perm. Yiheng uses an alternate V-perm that J-perm used to teach people that most people don't use, but Yiheng is very good at this V-perm, and he's very good at transitioning from OLL to PLL using it. For me, I still prefer the other V-perm where the block is at the front left, but this works really well for Yiheng, and eventually I might even switch over to it, and I bet a lot more people will too. But good turning always starts with your solving style. If you can get your solving style down to be more basic and CFOP focused, you can actually have a higher turn speed and more perfect turning. I'm not saying that ZB is bad, but if you're going for perfect turning, you're going to have to sacrifice your efficiency from ZB a little bit. Now let's take a deeper dive into Yiheng solves. I have 5 sub 4s that Phil sent me, and I'm really excited to show them to you. I don't know if we're going to go through all 5 of them, but I'll show you definitely a couple of them. Okay, yes, the plan was to show you only a couple of them, but all the solves were just so insane, I decided I had to reconstruct all of them. So yeah, just stay around for all 5 of these solves. Alright, this first scramble is really cool. Yiheng sees this block right here and he decides to make an X cross. If you do F and then L, that makes a block right here. And the edge is right here. But Yiheng wanted to do something that would be a little more finger trick friendly. And so what he did is he put white on the back like this and yellow in front. A little bit of a strange start, but he had orange and blue set up right here. So what he first started off is he inserted green like this, and then he inserted red like this with an R move. And with these 2 last cross edges, he wanted to solve these 2 while solving this edge right here. And this edge is in a really bad position, but I just want you to take a look at this. He does a wide R to solve this orange edge like this. And now at this point, most people would just give up on the X cross because of this bad position of this edge and just insert this last edge with like an F prime like this. But Yiheng's very smart. He actually canceled into taking out this edge and putting it into position by solving it with blue like this. And by doing that, you also made a 3 mover when you do F prime like this. So you can do D2, and then you can do the 3 mover. Now from this position, you have 2 different pairs. You could do this pair or you can do this pair. I feel like most people would go for this pair, and probably I would too because it's so easy to see. But the thing is, you have to rotate if you solve this pair. Whereas if you solve this pair into the back, you don't have to rotate. And that's one thing you'll notice with Yiheng solves. He wants to solve back slots first and he doesn't want to rotate. So he just pairs it up like this and inserts it into the back. Now from this position, it's kind of funny because he has all the corner solves. It looks kind of like Rue or something like that. But he has this corner solved and this edge, which is right here in this position. And what a lot of people from this position would do is just take out the corner and then solve it like this. This adds a rotation, but what it does is it keeps a cross on top. But for Yiheng, getting a cross on top isn't really what he cares for. He just wants to do what's fastest for finger tricks. And for him, solving it like this by pairing it up and then doing a hedge is the fastest way of solving it. And what's cool is when you do this hedge, you can see right here, you're going to get a fat soon, so he can go straight into the fat soon and go straight into the GC perm. And one of the cool things is he didn't have to rotate for the entirety of that F2L, and he had very, very good finger tricks for it too. And the way he was almost able to cancel last slot into last layer was super, super awesome too. Alright, on this second solve, Yiheng goes for yellow cross. That's pretty easy because you already have these two that are solved right here. And with this orange, you can just do an R prime to solve it. And what he wanted to do is he wanted to go for the red and blue first pair right here. If you just go like this and you do a U2, that actually makes a pair, and then you could solve these last two. But now you have to rotate after you do the cross. And Yiheng didn't really like what he saw with that. So he actually just inserted it like this and then sledged this in right here. And what that did is it reoriented this edge to make it rotationless. And then he did D2. And for this pair, you might think it's bad, but it's actually only a 5 mover because this slot is unsolved. You can use it to solve this pair into the back. So he goes R U prime and then cancels into solving it in the back. He then predicted this in inspection, which he immediately rotated for, paired it up like this, and inserted this on the left. So he had his first 2 slots solved on the left very, very fast, all R, U, and L moves. Now from this position, I was very curious why he did this. This didn't really make too much sense to me because from right here, you don't really have a great pair like this, but this red and green pair is a lot better than this pair. It's just a 5 mover like the earlier one. But Yiheng actually didn't solve it like this. I think it's because he saw this terrible pair and he didn't want this for last pair. So instead, he solved it like this by pairing it up first, and then doing U, and then R prime U2 R. And that gave this a kind of better pair, but honestly, this isn't much better. But he does U2, and instead of rotating to solve it, because, you know, Yiheng doesn't want to rotate, he does sledge, and then inserts it like this, which then gives another fat soon. And from right here, you can see he already has an A perm. So instead of just doing U and then A perm and then U2, as I talked about earlier, Yiheng likes doing the A perms where you rotate upwards like this. So he did that and then a U AUF. And as you can see, I feel like rotating up just flows a lot better with that fat soon from earlier. This was a really interesting solve because it was so basic. Yiheng just had incredible look ahead and turn speed. And he was able to look ahead into his last layer so nice. Like he predicted OLO and PLO. It was so clean. Alright, this third solve of Yiheng's is definitely my favorite from the average. What he was able to do was super cool. So he goes for a yellow X cross. He actually ignores this block right here. He just uses this block and this edge right here. So what he first starts by doing is he aligns his red to its color, and he actually holds yellow front so the finger tricks will be better. So he finger tricks it like a D move like this by aligning this cross edge to its red. And then he does L prime and then a U move is how it's finger tricked. Now when you insert the orange and then insert the green, when you do an L2, it moves the edge right here, which will finish off the X cross. But he does something even cooler. So you're from yellow front, right? So he does kind of like a wide R and then an R move right there. And then what he's going to do is instead of just doing D L2, which is good, but it doesn't really set up anything good for second pair. While doing this L2, he actually inserts an extra U move like this and then does another L prime. Now that pairs up this for second pair, and you can do U and D prime at the same time and insert this into the back, which then makes another 3 mover right here. Crazy enough, this was all predicted in inspection 2, which he rotates for this, of course, and inserts it on the left. Now for this, for last pair, he doesn't want to rotate for this, so he puts the corner to the back, does a sledgehammer, then does a U prime, and then another sledgehammer. Then he gets another fat soon, which he does this one from the back this time, and then he does U prime into A perm from the back again. Again, from this fat soon angle, if he was to do a U2 into this one, it would just be really weird, especially that he's already in this top grip because he's doing the fat soon from the back. It just makes it flow a whole lot nicer if he just does the A perm from the top. This was my favorite solve because it was super unique in how he did the X cross, and he had 2 free pairs afterwards. Super nice. And the last slot plus last layer combo was also super nice. It was just a very smart solve from Yiheng. Alright, this fourth solve is pure genius. This is super cool. Yiheng actually does a double X cross, making use of this little block right here and this edge, plus this pair right here. So if you just started off by holding red front and you do an L, it puts this into position, but it puts the edge into a bad position. So instead, if you add one extra move, a U move, and now you do the L, it puts this whole block together, and now you can do a B move like that, and that makes a 2x2x2. Next, you have this cross edge and this cross edge right here, which if you do U2 and then F2 and then R prime, that solves an X cross. But wait, the pair is right here. So instead of doing the last R prime, you can add an extra U prime and then do R prime, and that's a double X cross. But look, before inserting this pair, you have this pair right here. So when you insert it, you can cancel directly into the third pair. This is just pure genius. Everything is just canceling one into another. So he inserts this one in the back. And now for this last slot, you might think, oh, Yiheng did the same thing with lefty moves, you know? But no, he actually didn't. From this position, he would have to do U2 into lefty moves, whereas if he just rotated, he could just do the same thing as the last solve, but with righty moves. And the only way I can explain why he did this instead of lefty moves is doing the U2 into lefty moves is probably not ideal, whereas if you rotated, you could just solve this pair very, very fast. So he does the same solution from the last solve where you do sledge and then insert it like this. And then he gets this for O willow, which he kind of like, he does a weird like almost cancellation. He does it like this and then like soon, like that. And then he has an H perm. Alright, this last scramble is super cool. 1, Yiheng did free fop, which means he was solving F2L and cross at the same time. And 2, Yiheng Wang actually did ZBLL, which is something you don't really see much of. He also had a huge lockup on the scramble, and it was super low move count. So this could have been even a low 3 if he didn't lock up or had better turning. So Yiheng did another X cross, making use of this edge right here. When you do L2, it puts this edge into position right here. Now you have this corner, but you want to solve it with this edge right here. So if you undo this L2, if you do an L, it puts this corner into a good position in relation to this edge right here. So if you add another U2, you form the block. Now if you do LF, that makes the 2x1. Now, if you do D2, you have an X cross without one of the cross edges being solved. But Yiheng took it a step further. He noticed he has this 3 mover right here, and he doesn't want to insert the cross edge to break the 3 mover or whatever. If he does it like that or that, he just decided, hey, let me just insert the 3 mover first. And right here, this is where Yiheng locked up a ton, but he just ended up doing the R move again and then inserting this last cross edge like this. And now this is where the pure geniusness of Yiheng Wang comes out. He saw this pair for third pair and this pair for last pair, and he noticed if he pairs this up and before solving it, if he does sledgehammer, it 1 pairs up this last pair and 2 solves his EO, which is very good. And again, this is a rotationless F2L, so this is very solid. He then inserts it right here, and from here he already knew his OLO, so he went to do OLO, but right here he undid the move and realized he knew this really easy ZBLL. For this ZBL, you have this huge block in the back, but the way you recognize it is you just notice these 2 are matching. This one is opposite to it, and this one matches this one and this one. And when you notice that, you can do a U prime and go straight into the ZBLL, which looks like this. And then do a U prime AUF. Yiheng Wang doesn't typically do ZBs, but because of that one being such an easy case, he was able to do it. And I think he locked up when trying to do the OLL algorithm, which gave him a split second to recognize he actually had the ZB. If he ended up just doing the normal OLL alg, he would have gotten an E perm, which would have been a terrible last layer, and that would have not been a sub 4. Yes, these solves were super insightful from Yiheng, and I'm happy I was able to show them to you. I feel like the main consensus from these solves is you want to rotate the least amount as possible, try and set up X crosses and free pairs and stuff, and of course, have really fast turning. Alright, those solves were really cool to take a look at, and I'm super happy I was able to show them to you. Very insightful. So the second thing I wanted to talk about is turning style. So yes, everyone has their own turning style, but to me, objectively, the best turning style is to have a loose grip on the cube. When looking at Yiheng's turning, he has very light turning. Matty, Hiroto, and Inaba is also a very good example of this. When you have a looser grip on your cube, you're able to just let the cube flow and just let it do turns, and you're basically just guiding it through it. I feel like when you're too aggressive, you're kind of working against the cube. You know, you want to work with the cube. You want to just let the cube flow. And this is something that Matty, Hiroto, and Inaba has kind of talked about. He talked about it in the CubeHead video on how to develop faster turning. You want to have loose wrists and a very loose cube.
And like, if you think about it, like when your hands are super tight, you can like turn one face really hard, but then you can't transition to the next one easy. Rather, if you're loose, then you kind of, it just flows, you know?
So ideally, you want to have an airy grip over your cube and also keep it in cube shape as much as you can.
I suggest that for people starting out and they're trying to get faster, like get a fast cube and set it up pretty fast, because then it'll train your hands to be loose on the cube.
So how you can think of it is think about right here on your wrist. You kind of want to loosen this up, have it kind of relaxed. And when you're turning, just like kind of go slow and just let the cube kind of just flow and do its thing. And what you'll notice is when your hands are more relaxed, you'll end up having that faster TPS. When you first start doing this, you're gonna lock up a ton because you're not gonna be used to it, but over time, you'll get better at having this loose turning style. But not even just a loose turning style, something that's also very important is having a steady cube. CubeHead also talked about this in his video, and one example that he brought up, which I 100% agree with, is Kyle Santucci.
And also keep it in cube shape as much as you can, which means not wiggling it to either sides too much. Now a good example of this is Kyle Santucci, who has one of the most satisfying turn style out of any cuber I know. And notice how much he keeps his cube in perfect cube shape.
But other examples I would like to bring up is Roy Hongshu and Yiheng Wang, of course. You know, I mean, all turning comes back to Yiheng. His turning is just so good. But of course, everyone has different turning styles. Like Yiheng's turning style is very, very light. But if you look at someone like Luke Garrett, his turning style is very, very aggressive. And he's one of the fastest turners in the world. But I would like to say he's actually one of the outliers, and people with aggressive turning should probably just train themselves to have lighter turning. It'll just make you improve a lot easier. But of course, with a good turning style, you have to have a good cube, which is the third thing. When looking at Yiheng's cubes, his cubes are super, super loose. Like if you look at high quality footage of Yiheng solves and watch it back in like 0.25 speed, you'll notice his cubes look like they're almost falling apart. Which that's actually a very good thing because it makes it so he doesn't catch as much and he has a higher TPS. It comes back to, as I said earlier, he's just letting the cube flow and his fingers are guiding them through the turns. But if you have too aggressive turning, your cube will end up popping and you won't be able to solve it. And you want to find a cube that works really, really well for you. For Yiheng, he uses the Super Weilong V2, the Weilong V11. He just uses all those Moyu cubes. For me, I use the RS3 and V5. It works very well for me. Specifically, the Kaden Cube RS3 and V5, which you can find on thecubicle.com. Check that out. All right, enough with the plug, but you just want to find a cube that works really well with your turning. And with a good cube, you also need a lube setup, because if you have a good cube but don't have a lube setup that fits you, it will not work out well. A great example of this is I used to use the RS3 and V5, and I don't know what my setup was. It was kind of garbage, and I wasn't even like sub 7. I was really struggling at the time, and I go to a competition, and my buddy Samir Agarwal was there, and we met up, and I was trying out one of his cubes, and his cube was an Angstrom RS3 and V5. I was like, whoa, your cube is amazing. He's like, yeah, and my turning was really, really good, and I go into that competition not expecting like great results, and then I got 3 averages that were all sub 6.7, which was absolutely insane for me at the time. So yes, a good cube is only part of it, but you have to have a good lube combination that fits your turning well. Now, I've been throwing a lot of concepts out there and a lot of things about Yiheng's turning and other people's turning, but how can you actually practice to develop turning like this? So starting out with solving style, the best way to develop a solving style to be more similar to Yiheng's or anyone who has fast turning is you want to do chill solves. Chill solves is where you're chilling anywhere, let's say your bed, your couch, your chair, you know, the car, anywhere. And basically you'll have a scrambled cube and you just want to solve like if you were, let's say, Yiheng Wang, and you want to focus very much on basic solutions and edge orientation and not rotating, all that stuff. And you don't want to be doing speed solves. Like don't get a timer. You're just kind of chilling there is like what I'm saying. And just focus on getting these solutions down. And then you can also focus on looking ahead from OLL to PLL or trying to predict it as well. If you do a lot of chill turning solves where you're solving like that, you will slowly notice the changes that will happen in your normal speed solves and you will improve a ton. Now, talking about turning style, there are actually 3 ways to improve your turning style. And each of them, I actually have a practice technique that I'll show to you that will help you improve your turning. So the first one is a burst turning. Burst turning is how fast you can turn in just little 1 to 2 second bursts. Developing burst turning will be very, very good for your OLL and PLL, but it can also be very, very good for your F2L. An example of someone who has really good burst turning, I would say, is Brian's son. He's doing lots of pauses during his solves, but he has a very, very high burst turn speed. So the best way to practice burst turning is you want to just take your cube and just scramble it up like this. Once you have your cube scrambled up, you want to inspect your cross or cross +1, cross +2, whatever you normally inspect. Okay, so I have my cross +1, so I'm going to do it right now. And right there, that's my cross +1 right there. And after I do my cross +1, I'm going to pause, okay? I'm going to pause and I'm going to see what the best second pair is. So I see my second pair, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to do my second pair as fast as I can. So I'm going to go 3, 2, 1. and boom, I got my second pair. Now I'm going to pause and see where my best third pair is, and I see this little pair right here, so I'm just going to do that. 3, 2, 1, and I got that. Now I see my last pair, so I'm going to do this in the fastest way possible, like that. And now I see my OLO. I'm going to position my fingers to be ready. Did my OLO, and then I have PLL, so now I'm going to do the PLL. And just like that, that is burst turning right there. Now, burst turning is good on its own, but without the other two things, you will have really bad look ahead and you won't be able to turn for long periods of time. The second thing is endurance turning. Endurance turning is how long you can turn fast for long periods of time. If you notice in Yiheng solves, he has really good endurance turning because he's able to turn basically at full speed throughout the whole solve, and his hands don't really get tired. You might not think, oh, my hands are getting tired, but sometimes throughout the course of your solve, your hands will naturally just slow down because of your slow endurance turning speed. So the best way to practice endurance turning is to do PLL time attacks. PLL time attacks is doing all 21 PLLs as fast as possible, back to back to back. So I'll throw up an example on screen. This is Matty, Hiroto, Inaba doing a PLL time attack, and he got an 18.8 on it, which is absolutely insane. That's like less than a second per PLL, which is super, super good. For context, my PLL time attack speed is like 22, 23 seconds, somewhere in between there, which is way far off of Matty's. But by doing PLL time attacks, you will get really good at doing endurance-based turning because you'll be able to turn fast for long periods of time. And honestly, the first times you try it, you're going to get really, really tired. I remember the first time I did a PLL time attack, I was like, how do people do this in 18 seconds? My hands are already dead tired after the first 10 PLLs. But over time, as you practice more PLL time attacks, you'll get very, very good at that. What? And here's the exact way I practice PLL time attacks that I actually learned from Luke Greiser. Shout out to him. First, you make a list of all the PLLs you want in order. You can make whatever order you want. There's not a specific order. Then you're going to do a PLL time attack, and you're going to give it your 100% all. After you're done with the PLL time attack, you're going to take a 2 to 3 minute break where you're not going to turn the cube. You're just going to chill. You're going to let your hands rest. After that mini break, you're going to go back and do another one, and you're going to do this 5 times. The reason why you take breaks is because you want to make sure that you're 100% ready to go into the next one to give it your all. And through training PLL time attacks like this, you'll get very, very good at PLL time attacks and get good endurance turning speed. But now the thing that bridges burst turning and endurance turning is flow turning. Flow turning actually goes hand in hand with look ahead, and it's basically how well you can turn without pausing, and basically how well you can get your turns to flow one into another. And the best way to practice this is slow solves. So all you need is a cube and you need a timer, and this is how you're going to practice slow solves. You're just going to scramble up your cube, and you're basically going to turn as slow as you need to. You can literally turn at 2 TPS like this fast, like this, and just make sure you're not pausing at all. And by doing this a lot, you will develop good flow turning, and that will actually bridge your burst turning and your endurance turning together. And of course, if you practice these 3 practice drills, you're not going to immediately get amazing turning. This comes over time, and you don't need to practice one back to back to back. You can do one day practice one day do another, or just practice it whenever you feel like it. But I promise this will really help your turning. And now to finish off the video, I want to talk about what I have experienced while researching this video that has made me realize turning is the most important thing in a 3x3 solve. So the other day I was kind of researching for this video, not really researching, I was just kind of like writing out some like script or whatever. And what ended up happening is I was like, okay, I'm ready to record. And then I was like, maybe I should actually just like do some solves and see if it like really affects my solves. And I'm not even kidding you, like 10 to 15 solves later, I got a PB average of 5, which I've not gotten a PB average of 5, like I don't even know, like so long. And this is a 5.13 average of 5, which I average like mid 6 to high 6, maybe low 6 on a very, very good day. So a 5.13 average of 5 is insane for me. And the main things I was focusing on these solves was having a high turn speed and having a very basic solving style. And that is what led me to have such a good average. But the other crazy cool thing that happened besides this was I was actually streaming yesterday, and during the stream, I got a 5.32 average. A 5.32 average is insane for me, even on camera. I mean, it wasn't a PB, but it is definitely like top 5 fastest averages ever. So, what DNF? So yeah, low-key DNF the third solve, but you know, DNFs don't count at home, so totally legit average. I mean, the rest of the average is clean, trust me. Oh my goodness. And to finish off this average, I got a sub 5 with this ZBLL, which was absolutely insane to get on stream.
Oh my gosh, yes! Dude, what? 532 average on stream? The crap?
Oh my goodness, my camera died, so I need to charge it now. So yeah, my camera died, so we're just gonna do the outro with me doing a voiceover while we watch Yiheng Wang solves. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. This is a topic that I'm pretty passionate about, which is fast turning, as I used to be really about slow turning and good solutions, but over time I've been changing to be more simple solutions and fast turning. And this video is a 30-minute video, which I think is my longest video ever, and I'm kind of experimenting with longer videos. So if you guys could comment down below what you think of these longer format videos. If you don't like them, I can stick to shorter videos, but I'm really liking making the longer videos, and I'm hoping you guys do too. And at the time of posting this video, the World Championships is coming up in like, I don't know, like 3 to 4 days, and I want to do a cool sale for my coaching. So as you can see on screen, these are the 3 listings for my coaching. I got the 10-minute, 30-minute, and 1-hour version. For the 10-minute, we're just going to be dropping the price by $5, going down to $20. But for the 30-minute and 1-hour session, we're going to be doing $10 discounts on both of them. So if you're going to the World Championships, or if you just want some good coaching for 3x3, make sure to check out my coaching. Let's call this sale the World's Warm-Up Caden Cube Coaching Sale. Whatever, just go check out my coaching on cubing.gg. Link will be at the top of the description. And if you don't want to pay that much for coaching, you're in luck, because I'm going to be doing a giveaway today where I'm giving away a 30-minute session to one of you viewers right now. But if you don't want the coaching session, you can also have a $20 Cubicle gift card instead. To enter into this giveaway, all you have to do is subscribe and comment on this video, and you're entered. That's basically all my thoughts for this video. And if you see me at Worlds in a couple days, yes, I'm going. Make sure to say what's up. I would love to talk to all of you guys, and you guys just have to come up to me and introduce yourselves to me. I love meeting new people and talking with all you guys. Just don't ask me if I'm Hassan Kanani during the middle of my solve.
Are you Hassan? Excuse me? Are you Hassan?
I'm in a solve. Please don't talk to me.